Well, welcome back to Alan's Day. I am working on and continuing to work on this 2005 Holiday Rambler motorhome. I just got back from a trip from Mississippi. We're up in Green Bay. The reason I got the hat on is it's cold out yet. It's first part of May and we had snow yesterday. So it's a little colder in the garage here. Didn't want to turn the heat on. So anyways, in that trip that down to Mississippi, had an issue with the CO2 monitor. That thing started beeping in the morning, and I didn't realize, and I didn't look closer at it, but there is an expiration date on those CO2 monitors. This new one that I got, it's a CO2 monitor and a propane gas leak detector, also all built into one. On this particular motorhome, there's two of them. There's one located in the back bedroom, up on the wall, and then the other one is located down here in the bottom. I'll show you that. So the other one on this motorhome, it is located right down there, and I checked the date on the back of these. These are all stamped with a date on there, and this one's coming up on 8 years old. And according to what they have on these testers, is the carbon monoxide tester is they need to replace 60 months. So every 5 years you should be replacing these. So there again, it goes on to, you're buying one of these older motorhomes, check the CO2 monitors and get them replaced. There, it's one of those high safety items here. So this is what I've got here. It's a safety alert item. Got it off of Amazon. I think it was about probably 45 bucks each for these monitors. So I'm replacing both of them at, so I'm good for the years. So on this one, this is a different style on here. So I had to make a faceplate that is going to accept the new one, because that hole is going to be a lot bigger. So this faceplate is going to sit in here, and if I can get this in here with one hand, and I will get my holes drilled in here and get that mounted in there. What I use for this backer piece right here is I've got a whole pile of this. It's an 1/8 inch material. It's got plastic on the inside, and it's got a white aluminum on both sides. And according to what's on the sheets here, you can bend it, punch it, drill it. Real easy to work with. I use this stuff on any place I don't want anything to rot, or it's moisture, and it's a good, clean, easy look. So I'll get you more information on what this exact name of this board is called here. There's all kinds of stuff in some foreign language here, and so I take it this isn't made in America, but something similar to this is going to work for you. And once again, Taz is in here to visit and assist. So I will get to work and get this old one pulled out of there, rewired, and get the new one in there. Bring you back when I got something else to show you. So when changing out these CO2 monitors, it's pretty straightforward. You've got two wires. You've got a red and a black wire, and there's a clip on this particular one that there's a plug that's going to come off here. So I'm going to take this back over to the workbench, and I'm going to salvage the plug, and I'm going to put it onto this monitor right here. And you need to do a good job on that. This is very important. I use a solder connection on here to make sure that we got a good solid connection. And you can see that the two hole sizes are different, so that is the reason for this backer plate that I made, so that it fills in this area right here. So I'll cut this hole out in here and we'll be all set. And I'm going to use the Milwaukee oscillating tool. I'll lay that out, that hole, and I'll cut this through here, down and around, put a couple screws in there, and we'll be good for another 5 years in here then, right? Well, I'm splicing the wires on the CO2 monitor, and like I said before, these are all date stamped on here, so take a look at that, make sure you got the right one. Took the old plug out of there. I've got these solder connections. You've been seeing a lot of those. I got them off of Amazon. What it is there is a piece of copper on the inside here. A piece of solder in there, and you put the two together, and then you take the heat gun and you apply some heat. And you can actually see it in there melting in there. I've got the wrong camera on this, but you got to just heat that up. Just go at it slow so you don't burn it. And you're going to be able to see that solder starting to run a little bit and move. And you got to make sure that you have enough heat on there to actually melt the solder. But this is not a crimp lock. So you can see that the solder is melted in there, but then according to the directions you're good to go. No, because what happens is some of the solder, it'll actually bubble through the side of the plastic here, the coating, and then you're going to have a short. So then I take and I slide a heat shrink tube over the top of that, and then I will take and heat shrink that. Now you got yourself a connection that's you can feel comfortable with. Yeah, the crimp ones work good. Yeah, you can hand solder it, but this seems to do just a good, easy, clean, professional looking job when you use these solder connectors, and it takes a little practice to get them. And once you put it in there, you got to make sure that you slide one that way and then slide the other one past it so they're overlapping, and then you put the heat to it. And the heat shrink, there again, another Amazon product. You can get this, you like the 4-to-1 here because it really shrinks in there. So between these two items, you can do a real good job and make a professional looking job with the wiring there. So don't be afraid to try something new on that. Thanks. As long as we're in this kitchen area working, let me show you something else you need to look out for on these motorhomes, campers, and that is underneath this kitchen right here, under the sink, all the way under here, and going all the way up past underneath the furnace over here. On this motorhome, and probably most of them, for whatever reason, they put carpeting underneath there, and I'm assuming it's easier. They just roll the carpet out on the bottom, just because it's just blatant. They're just lazy in not pulling the carpet out. So you can see down in here, there's a bare floor in there. It's hard to see that, but I pulled all the carpeting out of underneath this kitchen area here. Reason being is when I first got the unit, I just started poking around, open cabinets up and look, and under the sink area, the hot water heater, where you store all your cooking utensils, and underneath the furnace, right by the air furnace intake, since that was all carpeting, it got moisture on there, either from the sink, the hot water heater, somewhere. It got moisture in there. And when I pulled all the inside of the cabinetry out, the hot water heater, the furnace, there was mold growing in there that was a couple inches high. The whole floor in there. If somebody didn't see that in there, you would have been nasty ass sick going in this motorhome. So it is so critical to check underneath there. If there's carpeting underneath there, get the carpeting out. Like I said, you're going to have to pull maybe the furnace, the hot water heater, do a lot of work cutting the carpet. It was just a pain. In order for me to get that out of there, I pulled the hot water heater out on the outside of the unit. I put a come-along on a corner of the carpeting to a corner of the beam in the shop to get that carpeting pulled out of there. Once I got it pulled out of there, I soaked it down with some mold killer, and I just soaked the entire OSB floor, that whole thing. I soaked it, and I let it dry. Once it was good and dry, then I got in there and I dumped about a gallon of stain on top of there. I think it was Danish oil, and I put that in there and I just soaked everything underneath there. And I've been periodically checking, and there's nothing growing, there's nothing in there. But bottom line, that is just 100% neglect on the RV builders that put carpeting in an area that there's moisture and water. That's huge. I can't even put it to words how neglectful that is of these RV builders that do that shoddy work and put that carpeting under there. It's okay for day 1, but day 5 and 10, 15, they're going to get some people seriously ill. So anyways, check for carpeting, clean it out under there. That's enough of my rant on this about carpeting underneath the cabinetry, and any place else that you can find carpeting in the unit that's buried underneath this unit here, your seating, your benching, someplace where you don't need carpeting, that it's in there, it's going to do nothing but cause you problems. So take it out of there. So, well, the CO2 monitor is in and installed, and I did check it to make sure it's working. One thing to note, that this monitor is wired directly to the house batteries. So if you turn the house batteries off, your CO2 monitor will not work. So just make sure you got power in here. And also as a backup in here, like I said, we've got one of these monitors in the back bedroom. We got one here. And we've got the smoke alarm up on the wall here. And so this is our traditional battery powered one. So smoke alarm, CO2 monitors, make sure that they're in and they're working in good condition, and don't chintz on those. You hear too many stories about something bad happening if nobody's paying attention to that. So that should be it for today. Talk to you guys on the next project on the motorhome, and there's quite a few upgrades to come on this. So see you guys later. Thank you for watching Alan's Day. Life is about making choices. Some things are already perfect. Some things you may choose to upgrade. This channel will show you both. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks again.